Hey, you guys. Welcome to Steele Wars. I'm comedian Steele Saunders, and I do love Star Wars! And we are live at the Scum and Villainy Cantina in Hollywood, California! We are fan cantinaing, which, whether it's a fan cantina or not, I am a fan of cantinas. But this is a fan cantina, which I'm also a fan of. Has anyone ever been to a fan cantina? All right, this is like the World Between Worlds episode of that thing. But we're here. Star Wars Rebels. We had 2 woos and a yeah from a very familiar voice. Whether you liked it or not, I think we should appreciate that there's Star Wars, which is pretty good. Because in an alternate universe, this bar's just empty. So we've got nothing to talk about. But then in another alternate universe, I'm on stage complaining that Obi-Wan Kenobi came back at the end of the series on a heli-saber and saved everyone. So I think it'd be good that we all acknowledge that we are no longer watching Disney XD, okay? Hey guys! I might do that on my podcast now. After like a minute of podcast, I might go, "You're listening to Steele Wars. Now back to the thing that you just turned on." Be more confident, Disney XD. Do you know what I mean? Give people at least a minute of watching before you remind them that you are watching. Because I know I'm watching. Do you know what I mean? Like, I remember, all right? So that's the thing. That might get edited out. But we have got a very eclectic and fun group of Star Wars fans to discuss this finale, and I hope you can give a round of applause to welcome them all on. Our first guest is a writer for StarWars.com, where she blogs about Star Wars Rebels. It's Shana O'Neill, the Geek Girl Diva! He is the editor-in-chief of MakingStarWars.net. He likes wearing sunglasses inside. Welcome, Jason Ward! He is one of the rogue rebels. You would have heard him on Now This Is Podcasting. It's Sal Perales! In the late 90s. Did anyone know there was a late 90s? Well, there was, and it was many years ago. But our next guest made an awesome, seminal fan film called Troops. He also wrote for Star Wars The Clone Wars, amongst many other things. Please welcome Kevin Rubio! And our final guest sits in her bedroom and says snide things about pop culture, and we all love it. Please welcome Jenny Nicholson! Woo! Welcome, Jenny.
Thank you.
Welcome, everyone.
Yeah.
Jenny, how did your watching go? You promised me that you would watch the entire series by 3:30 today. How down to the wire did things get?
I finished it this morning while I was eating my breakfast. That's why it took me a minute to respond about my favorite moments from the finale, because I had to watch it after I read that.
Yeah, I messaged Jenny, like, "Oh, what's your favorite moment from the finale?" And there was just 3 dots for about 4 hours this morning.
Yep.
You messaged us at like 7 a.m.
Yeah, well, podcasting doesn't sleep. Do you know what I mean? There's no prime time in podcasting. You can listen to them whenever you want, and you can also send a DM about them whenever you want. That is the magic of the internet. Yeah?
Where do you think he finds the time for all that content? All that sweet, sweet content?
They found me.
Sorry, we're just going to shut the...
Oh, my bad. We're in Hollywood.
It's too real. Do you know what I mean? Down here in Hollywood.
Oh, I've been here. I know what you mean.
It doesn't look that nasty in the opening credits of Entourage, but it is. Okay.
What is this? An
I'm gonna have to
episode of Law
believe
and
you.
Order?
Yeah. Yeah. Geek Girl Diva. I'm very sad you've taken your sunglasses off. It's. You don't have to. It's apparently it's pretentious from what I know, but
Oh, well, in that case, I'm leaving them.
Geek Girl Diva. The Rebels is a Dave Filoni joint, and I think maybe one of the things that defined the series was Dave trying to finish up Clone Wars in the next cartoon. How different do you think Rebels would have been if Clone Wars got its conclusion?
That's not a loaded question at all. No. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I actually saw Rebels first before I saw Clone Wars.
Really?
Yep.
So Clone Wars is your Rebels prequel?
It is my Rebels prequel. And I think that in a lot of ways when I watched Rebels is what made me want to watch Clone Wars. Basically because I didn't know who Ahsoka Tano was.
Were you shocked that she used to be a Jedi?
I wasn't. But, I'm jaded. So I think that it turned out to be something that allowed him to do that. But I don't think there was any intention in it. And I think that actually it has a lot more to do with the fact that as things kept going and as he started building this world, I think there's a lot of question about, well, these things have happened. There's these people out there. So how do I answer those questions? So I didn't really see that as a continuation of the Clone Wars. I think it just kind of happened.
Yeah, I think he wanted to get his boys in there and keep their little story going. But that's just me. Kevin, you have actually, you've ran kids animation shows. You wrote on Star Wars Rebels, and you did a lot of stuff for Ben 10. And I looked at your IMDb this morning at about 7 a.m., funnily enough. And you worked on the Thunderbirds, which is super cool.
I worked on Thunderbirds. I thought you were going to mention My Little Ponies.
Oh, no, but...
Cool too.
But Jennifer's mind has just been blown. Jen, would you like to... we can make a sub-podcast in this podcast about My Little Pony
Which
now.
generation?
Oh, you can ask Kevin about that.
Friendship is Magic,
Okay.
2012. So,
Well, that's the big one.
Yeah.
That's where the money's at.
Yeah.
That sweet pony dollar.
Yeah.
What things did you sort of maybe appreciate or notice about the show as someone that's worked on a similar show that maybe the layperson would not have?
Well, I think what a lot of people, don't understand is that you have to serve a lot of masters when you're doing a television show, and it's even compounded more when it's a kid's show. And the very fact that they were able to make something as good as they did with all of the parameters that are given, because again, this is a show that's geared, for 10 to maybe 7 to 12-year-olds. It's Disney XD, so 7 to 13, and it's made to sell toys. That's the whole thing. So. Obviously, the people behind it have a passion and a love for Star Wars, but when fans tend to nitpick about certain things, I often notice it's, well, yeah, but you also have to realize what the age range is, the kind of the marching orders from Disney. I think we were talking earlier before the show that several of the characters, there wasn't going to be a Jedi Knight, but that Disney wanted one because they wanted to sell lightsabers. So now you got to come up with a character that will fit the story. And so I appreciate the work that all of the writers and the creators go into, adhering to the parameters that they have set before them, and yet still managing to turn out a really good show. And, and one that I think that follows the excellence that was set by the Clone Wars.
particularly Bombay Jedi.
Oh, particularly, yes, absolutely.
was-
Probably
that-
the
that-
best show
that-
that
that-
out of all of
That
them.
was a classic. That was like My Little Pony
My
good.
God, no.
2012.
Thank you, My Little Pony IMDb in the middle of the panel. Jason, something that we've talked about a fair few times is, it's on Disney XD. It's skewed a little bit younger, but I don't know. I sort of feel like more than any other Star Wars thing, it skews super young and then super old quite quickly. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's been a lot of wackiness, but then there's been Imperials getting decapitated in the same show. And I always fell back on the thing of I understand it's Disney XD and I understand it's Star Wars. And for me, I always think that Star Wars, everyone should try to be about 12 do you know what I mean? Get in that 12-year-old mindset.
That's not hard.
No.
For him.
No, not for me.
I'm always at 12.
Should have heard him last night.
It's on Disney XD, but it's quite marketed to the adult audience.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing, like when it shows up in EW or something, because you're like, is this for me or is it for children? I mean, ultimately, what it comes down to is that families can ingest that and then all together and have that family experience. But at the same time, the really angry, sad nerd inside me gets really frustrated with it. I admit it. It is. It's pathetic. It's like, you had your time, you're 38, get over it. But I'm still sitting there for my 22 minutes, and it's still my 22 minutes, man.
But family.
Family. Lessons.
What peaked out your nerdometer?
Oh God, do you want to go there already?
In there.
Darth Maul or Maul having that fight where they just stared at each other.
I like the fight.
Yeah.
See, okay, if that was the only thing that ever happened in that moment, in that part of the galaxy, if all lightsaber battles that year are going to be that, cool. But we know we're going to get some other movie where Obi-Wan Kenobi doesn't just hold the lightsaber and then take 2 steps and move his foot around. There's going to be Ewan McGregor's going to be doing backflips and flash dancing on people and be like, what's going on? It doesn't make sense now.
I don't think you can judge it on future things that are going to contradict it. Do you know what I mean? That is very hard.
But when you're right, you're right.
No. When it happens, I'm with you.
Just to be
give it
fair,
time.
just to get away from future, let's just go with what we got. We already have Ewan McGregor doing 17 backflips and high ground and all that stuff, and we have Alec Guinness on the other side, putting this where it is and in that place. You said to me we've had this is a leftover conversation from Now This Is Podcasting, by the way.
Still right, it rages on.
You keep talking
The conversations that making
it's
Star Wars
budget
rejects.
and that's all they could do. I've seen lightsaber fights in Rebels that are longer, so I don't think it's a budget thing. I think it was a deliberate choice to be a samurai influence, which to me sold exactly what it was supposed to be. And I think it's one of the most beautifully shot and most skillfully executed homages to what the original idea of what that Jedi-ness that Obi-Wan Kenobi rose above is.
I've got DJ Troops over here.
I don't know what is happening.
Chill out on the sound effects, Winslow.
One last text.
Well, it's weird you bring the fight. The fight I actually enjoyed. It was everything. When is Ezra gonna tell anyone that he met Ben Kenobi? That's
keep
why
talking.
I want another cartoon series.
And there goes my saber. But we've had this conversation before, and I think your suspicion is misplaced because to me, Chopper would be telling everybody. Chopper was there. Why is it on Ezra? Ezra would keep the secret because Ezra would understand. But Ezra would be like, look, I'm not supposed to be here.
Dude.
Bye. I'm not supposed to be here today.
R2-D2 has set the precedent that droids ain't saying shit to anyone.
Then we should be all good on that level then.
He has been first-hand watching incest. He's done he's seen it all.
I don't seem to remember
Wow, you
ever
went
owning a
there.
droid.
Very quiet circuited about
Then
that.
I think we understand each other, sir.
But we talked about how it was designed for people to watch with their family. Now, you took that advice
Family.
kind of to heart, excessively.
I've forced my family to do a lot of things. And this is definitely something that...
It's like that, you know, they find the families that they're all living in the cellar and stuff on the National Enquirer. I want them to do an expose about you. Father makes children dress up
Children
like
in
fantasy
garage
characters.
sewing Velcro onto things.
You're pretty good at that because now
You
one
would
of them
think
sent
it would
up a
be
note.
like that, but when that expose happens, you would find that it is me in the garage sewing Velcro onto the things.
Say the line. Say the line.
So
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I will also defer that responsibility / guilt onto my beautiful wife because this was her idea. So, like, you want to step back in time 4 years? I was like, Cowboy Jedi. Who wants to be a Cowboy Jedi? Dude, I'm from Texas. Dude, I lived Cowboy Jedi, son. I'm all about Metal Jedi Voss now. Like, I don't need Cowboy Jedi. And then they were like, well, yeah, Axel does look like Ezra. Like, so looks like Ezra. I can't see him now, but he does look like Ezra. Like, if you've seen him, you probably agree with me.
He's finally made his escape.
Yeah. He's in another part of the galaxy with a blue dude.
Like, don't even say that because now all I can think is, one last time.
I feel like this is a psychiatrist session for you, Sal. You're just going on monologues and then...
Do you have a bigger couch?
I do not.
I wanted to say something about the Darth Maul Obi-Wan Kenobi fight, because I mean a lot of people, and myself included, I'm sure wanted to see a big bang, fight with lots of choreography, but ultimately you have to service the story and what the story and what the characters are telling you ahead of what your nerd senses want to happen. And so that was right for what the story called. And as far as why Ezra hasn't told anybody, I'm pretty sure when Hera and Kanan were getting jiggy with it sometime, he told Bail Organa. So.
I thought you were going to say...
Like Ezra runs in while they're...
Like for all those listening
I forgot
that
to
are
tell
not
you.
here, I was nodding the whole time.
Speaking of ignited things, I met Ben Kenobi.
You can imagine, he walks in. I've got something to tell. Oh, I'll come back later. And the only one else around is Bail.
Very sus. Now, Jenny, you, as we just talked about, you're sort of playing catch up.
Yeah.
So you got to really binge on everything happening at once. Mm-hmm. And in Rebels, there's a lot of things on paper that are quite jaw-dropping. You had
Sure.
space whales, you had inverted commas time travel, you had heli sabers.
Yeah.
Watching it all in a mad dash, what was the biggest sort of jaw-dropping, whoa, this is in Star Wars?
Well, my favorite episode is that one. It might have been 2 or 3 episodes. It felt like it went on a long time, where they go to that new base and just giant spiders are there, and it's just
Krikna.
a really long sequence of giant spiders breaking in, and then they're like, oh, they're in the airlock, and more giant spiders, and then it was really just mindless fighting giant spiders. It was definitely a filler episode, but it was the best one. And I was thinking, how are kids not gonna have nightmares from the imagery of you look out to your tiny little ventilation shaft and you see the 8 legs coming out of it and just this giant, impossibly huge spider body that wouldn't have fit down that corridor, squeezing into your ship. They were relentless. What did they want? Why were they doing this? Why were they chasing the spaceship and crawling on the outside of it? They were redneck spiders that were just it was spite at that point. Get off my property.
Sal,
They do what they do.
you do a lot of talking about Rebels. What was the motivation of these giant spiders, do
The
you think?
motivation of the giant spiders were to web down the ghost in a way so that they could feed on its occupants on their own time.
That was what they did, but what was their ambition?
Food.
Oh, but when they have the Sith holocron and it's just gently resting perfectly
No,
on
the
the back
Blvd
of
gave
one
them
of
the Sith
spiders.
holocron
Did he just go
for safekeeping, not
and just
to
gently
them,
just set it right on top?
but like
Don't move.
he didn't
It'll
like
fall off.
they placed it there,
Your
but they
bulbous
have no
spider
interest in the
body.
Sith holocron, so it's just more of a place where nobody else can get to it
How did it stay on so well?
because it's
They were
force.
treating it like a gentle hat, like
It was such a wonderfully floating object that it was well lit too, if you think
Now
about
we
It
it.
have
was. It was well lit. Like
Yeah.
they knew their angles.
I have this image now of Bendu sort of tiptoeing into the cave to put the Sith holocron
Yeah,
on
like
the
between
spiders.
his shoulders on the
Like-
door jambs.
Like a reverse Indiana Jones.
It'll be
Big tree
worth it.
dude
The
tiptoeing.
presentation is perfect.
Well, they were the Macquarie spiders, yeah?
Right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
So that was their motivation, was nostalgia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, were they from a thing?
I think it was a concept of Empire Strikes Back, like on Dagobah, there was going to be those spiders.
We didn't have those.
But now they're in the ship.
If I
They
had
would
to
have made more
like
sense
go
in a
on,
swamp.
Now they're like a Sith mantelpiece.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I was hoping they would come back when everyone was coming back for the finale. Like, the gang's all getting back together. I thought there was going to be a moment where it's like dire straits. We need backup. We're overrun. And then you hear like rumbling. Like you see the rocks trembling like Jurassic Park. And then it's a stampede of the spiders. And then they're like the cavalry.
No, they're like, Kanan, there's way too many space insects. Who do we call? The space spiders.
The space
And they
spiders.
get 'em
Yeah,
over the
it's like
web.
little flies. It's enemies that look like
Yeah.
little fly men. How do we defeat these men? They're like little flies.
they take care of jetpack troopers.
Yeah.
Let's go a bit into the characters.
Why am I a big Hera girl?
Yeah.
Because she's a badass. Hera Syndulla is one of the, if not the most capable females, aside from Leia, that we've seen in Star Wars. She's a pilot, she's a fighter, she's strategically stellar. She is fearless and still manages to
Have a fine ass boyfriend.
yeah.
So it all comes out.
You don't
Snag
think
her-
things translate into animation quite differently. so-
Snagged herself a hot boyfriend. And no, I just think she's amazing. And I think that that she is really a representation. It's nice to watch the show because what you get, and it's not to diminish anybody else, it's that we've had the most time with Hera as a character in 4 years and however many episodes where we've gotten to see all the things that she is and the things that she can do. So to me, she's the most well-rounded, and you can see so many different things about her. So I mean, I love her. And I also think that I still say she's a better pilot than Han Solo.
Agreed.
I'm waiting for Solo: A Star Wars Story because I need to see how the ship flies. But if you put Hera in the air, given just the mechanics of what it is she's been able to do in the Ghost and the B-Wing and the Y-Wing and the X-Wing and everything else she flies, she's the most skilled pilot. I think the fact is she outran Darth Vader. So I'm really waiting to see it, but she's capable as all get out.
How was it as such a huge fan when she got a shout out in Rogue One? Were you screaming?
I
in the
lost
cinema?
my mind. I lost my mind.
Did you get it the first time?
I got tipped. Like somewhere I didn't know right away and I found out after. And so I didn't know the first time. I didn't know about Chopper the first time. Someone had to tell me. And then once I knew, I went back and I'm like a little kid, you know. When I heard it, like I was so excited.
Now, for someone that thinks about Rebels a fair bit, answer me this. When did that little green dude get conceived?
I have almost an exact idea, which is
I
I'm serious.
have to say, for everyone listening at home, Araj from the Sith List is in the front row, and when he heard that question, he nodded like, yeah. That's what we want to get to. That's what we want to get
So
to.
my theory is that after the scene in the alleyway with the almost kiss in
I get horny in
Occupation, that the following episode, Flight of the Defender, when you see the Sabine and Ezra and Ryder and Zeb all off trying to deal with what's going on at the Empire airfield, Kanan and Hera are up in Ezra's tower. Sorry, Ezra. And they're alone. So I'm pretty sure that's when Jason was conceived. I'm not saying that's the first time they'd had sex in a while, but I do think that's when he was conceived.
I'm very curious to hear the space version of Let's Get It On.
Yeah, exactly. So that's when I think it happened. I actually think that may be when things got rekindled with the two of them, but that's conversation for another
Do you
day.
think if the ghost is rocking, you should be knocking?
I don't think the ghost was rocking, but I know this is contra to what a lot of people believe. I think it used to. But I think once the kids came along, kind of like any marriage, things slowed up.
Wow.
Oh, come on. Y'all are harsh.
So you're also gauging like the quality of that encounter, and you're just like, it probably wasn't great. Like, is that our takeaway?
I don't know, man. If it had been that long and I thought I was worried about I was going to die, it would have been great.
Okay.
Enthusiasm to an
Fair.
all-time high.
So much that I want to say, but I'm going to say nothing because there are people over there that I was part of procreating.
So does that answer your question?
Do you like ever look over to them and wish that they were conceived on a spaceship?
How do you know they weren't?
Kevin, as a long-time fan, were you excited to see Grand Admiral Thrawn get blue-skinned up?
I was happy for the character. I'll be very, very honest. I never read the Empire trilogy, Heir to the Empire trilogy.
You are a very distinguished fake fan.
Now, Heir to the Empire came out when I was concentrating on other stuff, like what Kaden and Hera were doing in episode, what was that? Yeah.
10.6 or 10.7?
10
We'll go the occupation and a half.
Jason, Ezra, by the end, we'd had a rocky road following his ups and downs, but I have to say, in maybe like the last like that 6 episode thing, I don't know, it felt like he got to the place that maybe he should have been to a bit earlier in the series.
Yeah.
But he actually, like, I was rooting for him. I hope that's not just an Australian term.
It's not.
All right, I was vouching.
You're finding his bones.
Yeah.
Rooting is fine. Stick with rooting.
Yeah, I was gonna
But
say,
how did you find he ended up?
Yeah, by the very end, I was totally on board for the final 3 episodes. That guy was the guy that I wanted to see a little bit earlier in the show. I thoroughly enjoyed him at the end once Kanan was gone. Like, if I got the armchair the whole thing, I would have killed this guy at the end of 3 and then had Ezra be a little bit aimless for a time and then figure out that he has to do this on his own. But when he does start executing his plans and stuff like that, that's when I thought he was finally heroic and not just kind of Ferris Buellering the whole thing where he comments on what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, because at times he was sort of the substitute Luke Skywalker and the substitute Jar Jar Binks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, it's true,
No.
man. When he's got that jetpack and he's like, "Whoa!"
Guys,
I
it's
hear
crazy. The Force, I can't. Oh no.
Yeah, but then like when I don't know if it's the first episode or it's the end of the first season, but when he does that broadcast,
Call to action.
We're out there and like I'm like, oh, this is a great character. Like I think maybe Star Wars
Second
Underworld
season.
used that as their intro, but whenever I hear that, I'm like, yeah, that was. And he sort of, I think my issue was that he got to this maturity with that broadcast, and then he kept like, it seemed almost like a traditional 80s cartoon where nothing changed. Like they had an adventure and then it started from scratch. Like I was like, you're not developing. Like you're not sort of learning the lessons. And I've had people tell me, it's like, well, that's kids are like that. They don't learn the lesson. And it's like, yeah, but
Tell
I don't
me
want to
about
know
it.
about your parental issues.
Yeah.
I want to go on space adventures.
If we're gonna make it real at one point, let's not make it real there. I think that with Ezra and his parents, like early on, is really interesting because of the parent issue, and then with Kanan kind of becoming the substitute father and stuff like that. That's where I think like it was really interesting. And then once he sort of, once his parents were gone and that mystery was kind of out of the way, and there was a time where I didn't really know what Ezra really wanted or what he needed or what he was doing other than going to Jedi school.
Although to be fair, at that time, I don't think Ezra really knew what he wanted or what he was doing.
He's not real. So they made that. They made it that way.
But he feels real.
Yeah, no.
How many of you people went to like high school and didn't know what the hell you wanted to do when you got out?
Thank you.
Like,
How many of those people got movies made about them and TV series? Not many.
Hi,
One.
Luke Skywalker,
One.
who just wanted to go into Tashi Station and pick up some power converters. Come
And
on.
they-
And he still did stuff like that in the other movies.
But they cut
on.
they cut that part for a reason.
Yeah, but also this, but literally, like in certain cases, you got to admit, Luke Skywalker was like totally on it, and then he'd be like, "But I like that girl, and now you like her. Get away from her." I mean, come on.
What version of Star Wars are you watching?
Seriously?
Oh, if you read that Last Jedi novel, he and Cammy, they were about to get down.
Okay, now you're scaring
that
me.
was intriguing.
It wasn't it?
Anyway, off topic.
That's why they cut that out.
As you know, again, kind of pulling it back into the production aspect, you have to realize with the development of all of the characters, not just Ezra, but as we've seen from the Clone Wars, you're not guaranteed that the show is going to get the ending you want. Every year after you've finished a season, you're waiting to hear from a network. Did we get the pickup? Do we get to continue the story? So you might have plans, you know, to carry this character out and then not know if it's going to happen. And so, you know, every year when you hear you've gotten a pickup, it's a reassessment of, okay, where do we take the story this year? Do we wrap it up? Do we have more things that we want to say? And, you know, so it really is a gift that they were able to not only wrap this show and give it a really beautiful send-off, but wrap up the stuff in the Clone Wars that they didn't think they would ever get to do.
Does that change that it's like in-house, like it's on a Disney channel? Like, does that like lessen the burden?
No, if it's not getting the ratings, you know, they won't renew it. It's an expensive show. It's one of the most expensive cartoon shows on television.
I know, $2.99 on iTunes.
We're talking. As far as from a production, you know, I don't know the exact numbers, but we're approaching, you know, medium level prime time a budget for this.
So young Sheldon numbers, are we talking?
From a budget standpoint, probably.
Okay, and thus concludes the only time in my life where I'll reference young Sheldon.
Thank you.
Those billboards paid off. Now, Jennifer, you let me know that you're a bit of a Chopper fan.
I love Chopper.
What did you enjoy about his antics? I actually thought you're touch
You
and
don't
go.
like Chopper?
I wouldn't know whether you would hate Chopper or you would buy every stuffed
I
animal.
loved Chopper.
Okay, go into that.
Okay, well, I like droids to begin with. And Chopper is like the meanest droid. Like, he's just very spiteful in a way that like keeps taking you by surprise. Like, R2-D2 is sassy. Chopper is spiteful. Like, there's that one scene where like Ezra's having hallucinations that Maul is talking to him, and he faints. And then Chopper like wheels into the room and he's like, "Nap time's over." And everyone's like, "Chopper!" But like, yeah, I mean, he's got a point. There's also, he wasn't in his own like faculties of himself in this episode, but there's that one episode where he gets hacked and he's literally just flying through space brandishing 2 guns and just shooting at his friends. And that was an amazing visual.
I saw a clip of that where he was wheeling down a corridor or something and he had his 2 little arms out and he had blasters in each. And I was like, how did I forget this moment? But at the same time going, thank God I forgot this moment.
Well, and he'll like kick people in the shins. Like, he'll just smack them for no reason. I respect that.
That's the Mandalorian episode.
He's like a space shopping trolley. And best of all, he's not a giant spider.
Well, I wouldn't mind if he was both, but we can't have everything.
And of course, Chopper, Dave Filoni voiced a final Easter egg.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I don't know any meta stuff about this show. They have to tell me.
Do you know Anthony Daniels plays C-3PO?
Who's that? Oh, you mean in the the finale, in that C-3PO sequence.
No, just in all the films, I mean.
I've seen the finale.
Dave became the voice by default.
Really?
Well, yeah. When they were presenting the presentation to Bob Iger at Disney, they didn't have a voice.
We're in Hollywood. We can call him Bobby I.
They didn't have a voice for Chopper,
Junior?
so Dave did it. And Bob remarked how much he loved the droid. And
He's
so
great.
that was like, great, I'm stuck doing it. So.
I love the voice. I love that scene where, spoilers? Are we spoilers?
Sure.
Kanan Jarrus has just died. And then Hera's in her cave and she's talking to Chopper and he's comforting her. It's a very serious scene. She's like weeping over her lost love and the droid rolls up and he's like, and it's like the score is like beautiful and Hera's like, I know, I'll never forget him, and Chopper's like,
You know,
amazing.
Y'all laughing, but that shit was
scene.
hot to death.
you know, and it's funny.
Several people in the audience are tearing up
Yeah,
at the
they-
recreation of that
yeah.
poignant scene.
And I would like to point out that at the time that happened, my first thought was, oh my gosh, I've never heard Chopper sound so sweet.
I know.
Every single time Chopper demonstrates emotion,
It's
at
weird.
the most important parts. Like, it's that part, and if you look back at season 2, the episode Legacy, where Ezra finds out what happens to his parents, like, Ezra finds out that his parents are dead. And he kind of turns to Kanan and he like gives him a hug and he's like, I know. And then you'll see Chopper and he'll just be like, with his little like, I'm demonstrating a claw, I believe.
Hey, when Chopper reached up to hold Hera's hand and then her hand closed around his, I burst into tears.
It's Chopper that leads Kanan through Malachor. It's Chopper that's there, like, comforting Ezra's leg at that point. Like, it's
Comforting
when
Ezra's
Chopper, like I
leg.
said, when Chopper demonstrates emotion, it's important.
I'm glad we're videoing this, so we've got you making the little hand thing, and you were staring
don't
at it
answer.
so.
I was really trying to get it right. Like, I'm not a good Chopper cosplayer. That I leave that to my teddy bear. So, like, I find it tough.
You're an interesting person to know, Sal.
Thank you.
Give him another drink. That's a good idea.
Word. Let's keep going.
Shane, you do these like the best things or the 5 top things.
The ranking rebels.
Yeah. What was your highest ranked episode? What peaked it out for you?
Oh, that's hard. That's really not easy because there's different moments in different episodes. Honestly, at this point, I'm not gonna lie. If it involved Kanan and Hera, I was excited about it. Straight up.
Don't you?
And I absolutely, I'm going to out myself right now. In the middle of the finale screening, the second I saw Jason Solo, I squeed. Jason. Oh, sorry. Jason Syndulla. Thank you. But no connection at all. Absolutely not. When I saw Jason Syndulla, I squeed so loud that, and it was so high pitched. I'm sure dogs in the neighborhood turned their heads. And then right after that, into my hand, I was like, baby. I mean, I was
Like,
flipping out.
That is a good like review of a cartoon. Like that cartoon was so good, local dogs were disturbed.
There you go.
like, just so you guys know, we were at the screening with her, and as like the thing finished,
What a shock that you were at a Rebel screening.
When we were walking up the aisle, myself and my wife, the beautiful Hera, we're walking up the aisle. All I see is you stand up
Crying.
and yell to my wife, "We have a baby!" And then hugs were exchanged. There were a lot of tears involved. Like, it was a good time, brother.
I can't. I mean, that's honestly, I love the show and I love a lot of things about it. But if you have to ask me about my top moments, they're all Kanan and Hera related. I can't help it. I was there from day one.
Did you I don't know, I sort of, after reading like A New Dawn, like kind of missed those characters, like that vibe. I guess that you're reading an adult book and then it's transferring into a kid's cartoon, but like I kind of like the bar fly
I have
Kanan.
a theory about this.
For note that for people that are not here, I am a new Don Kanan today.
Yes, he
Bye.
is. I have a theory about this because you also see the two of them being flirtatious in Machine and the Ghost, which is one of the 4 shorts that they did. And one of the things I think is that they did those 4 shorts, as I understand it, as a presentation. That was one of the ways they sold the show. Sorry. And that I think what happened was once they presented everything to Disney, I think Disney was like, ixnay on the romance ray, like knock it off. We don't need romance, this is a kid's show. So I think it sort of just got kind of put away. And then over time, as Dave got more freedom and as the show continued to go on, you start to see little things pop up.
They were more affectionate in the first season.
So what?
They were more affectionate in the first season.
In the speaking in the way they weren't for sure. Yeah, and I mean, especially in the end when they saw each other and there's hugs. But
Right.
it wasn't something that, like when I saw the whole almost kiss, I was waiting for the two of them to kind of flirt with each other.
It was always a very like
Low.
underlined, and like the way, like even coming from where you come from, like reading A New Dawn, not only is where we decided to switch costumes with the family, but is where we did like that sort of gave us the understanding. To me, it was always that Kanan was madly in love with this woman, and she also felt something for him, but was hella busy,
Yeah.
Does
which I can relate to.
Does limiting the romance in the show make it more appealing when it goes down, or does it mean that the show missed out on a lot of opportunities because people like it so much?
I think that personally, I think that it was one of those where it was something that you just kind of, if you read the books, you had it there and it was like background. You just kind of put it in the back of your head. If you didn't read the books, you didn't know, so you didn't know what you were missing. And then by the time it kind of really showed up and was around, you just sort of always had this feeling. It never got declared really until the 4th season.
Right.
No time for love, Dr. Jones.
Right. Right. But the fun part is when you watch the show, there's little things and there's stuff that, like when Dave Filoni did the art, like he did like an art, piece for Star Wars Rebels, and in the artwork at the movie theater, Kanan's got his arm around Hera, like in the old, like boyfriend at the movies thing. So
Giving her a card that says, "Will you choose me?"
Yes.
Because that was what like tripped me out in the show
the
when
tunk.
they go to kiss, and it's like that big moment. I was like, I thought they were always hooking up based off of the other stuff, and then at the end, and they have the kid. I'm like, so they were always hooking. It was kind of confusing.
Yeah, it'll all be explained in my fan fiction coming up.
I kind of feel like if I just try to think about it and just imagine that I had 4 seasons of them just being like, all right, I'm going on a mission, peace.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really play the same way. I really like the slow and under, like that it's in the background, that it's so in the background. Like it's not in the background for him, I always felt, but it's definitely in the background for her because she's focused on general Hera things.
She's got work to do.
Yeah, dude, she's...
Sal, I think you're projecting so much. To me, your whole reading of Kanan and Hera's relationship is you and Liz at like a convention and oh yeah, she's busy. She loves me, but she's busy. Yeah,
I don't think
she'll talk to me when I get home.
You don't understand how much Rebels has affected my life. Look at me!
It's been the most fun as a shipper, to be completely honest. It's been so great.
Yeah, I kind of like how it went that once they got the kids and they had the mission that it sort of dropped off and then, towards the end. And it wouldn't have had the impact otherwise. But the romantic thing that I am most thankful for is that Ezra
and Sabine never got together.
Yeah. Just,
absolutely.
4 seasons of him trying to hook up with her would... wow.
I was so happy when that ended. When his crush ended, I was thrilled.
Remember the comment you just said about how projecting on your family makes things weird? That is an especially weird one that we put down in our family. 'Cause no.
Well, that's the thing with you guys dedicating you so much to these characters, it has led to some questions. Like we did, it'll be, when you guys get home, it'll be up on the podcast feed. But we did a podcast with Sal's family about their cosplaying with the Rebels and stuff. And originally, Sal's daughter Lizzie was Hera. And then on the podcast, Lizzie tells this story like, yeah, originally I was Hera. Then the book came out. And it was too weird.
We had to make moves that weekend. Like, we had to start sewing. Like, things had to start happening. Like, and it took us until season 2 to get it done.
Did you have no inkling before the book?
No, because all we saw was like, hey, that character looks like my... Like, first of all, like, you haven't heard the story, but if you listen to Steele Wars, you'll get the full thing, but I'll give you the brief version. Sabine looked like my wife. Ezra looked like my kid, and they connected with those characters immediately. My daughter and myself were like, I guess I'll do a cowboy Jedi and a pilot. And that's how it started.
But like they were
And now
clearly
look at
an
us.
item like the whole time. Like,
But they weren't clearly an item
it
before
was
the show
so
came out.
broadcast. It was
Before the show came
it
out,
was
and
like
those
they're the two
meet such and
adults.
such videos, there was
two
nothing.
Adults, there's a team mom and the team dad. and
It wasn't even a mom and a
right there.
dad.
Team mom, team dad.
It is now. Like, you can look back and say that shit, but when I was sewing in my garage,
No, the whole
nobody
time.
said that shit.
No action figures out. The little plush
Nothing.
in the box in Target. You're like, yeah, those
Not
two.
even a New Dawn.
30
Very,
and
very
pregnant.
broadcast.
Jenny, be careful. You're going to send him to therapy.
Do you think that informed your choices of costume?
It definitely did when we started rebuilding.
Okay.
Let's talk time travel. How did you find that, Jen?
I was like, yeah, okay.
Go.
It was fine.
Yeah, the problem with it is I'm fine with that. I'm worried about the future.
Oh, they won't bring it back.
Everybody thinks that this is a new thing. It's existed since Empire.
And besides, they knocked the temple down. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Oh, I want your input now.
As
all
they
of a
say in
sudden.
Australia, it's gonzo.
If y'all know me,
Right?
No one
y'all
says
know
that
I like
in
seeing
Australia.
Star Wars.
What were you saying about Empire?
The time travel in Star Wars has existed since Empire, where Yoda is teaching Luke the Force, and he says, through the Force, things you will see. The future, the past.
Yeah, but he didn't say things you'll touch.
No, but if you can imagine the construct and the way that they revealed the room that Ezra finally, the space that Ezra finally finds himself in. If you imagine that all Jedi are tapping into that realm, and that is how they're seeing the future and the past. Their visions are coming from that place. And Ezra was just one because of his access to the temple and to the portal, was one to experience it all at once and actually see the physical manifestation of the visions of the future and the past that all Jedi get. And you could see the gradual progression of that throughout the series. When he first encounters that space, it's just stars and nothing else. And then, and that's when he gets his lightsaber crystal.
Kyber.
And then later on, when when he has a vision, he's walking through, and a bit more of that space is revealed to him. And then finally, in the 4th season, the entire space is revealed to him. So, future, past, present, time travel, that's all existed.
For me though, like you see Anakin having like that vision of Padme dying, and it's such a different kind of way of interpreting that idea, and then that's where I think it gets difficult for fans to go into like I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I think that it tapping into that visually in those two different ways is where it becomes confusing and where it becomes kind of scary. Ultimately, though, for me, my thing with it was, did that need to happen in that way in that part?
It's
Like,
so didn't.
Because
If it didn't
Yeah.
need to happen in that way, you wouldn't have seen it. That's what the story dictated.
yeah, but no, it's not. I mean,
It didn't need to happen that way as you see it. But that was the story. And What if?
But well, see, the thing about it was it wasn't just a vision. They brought somebody from point A to point Z using that. That is, I think, where the big difference comes. Is there's a difference between seeing possible outcomes, possible like the possibilities, and being manipulated through it, and then actually like using it as a gateway. That's where it becomes kind of scary. Like it's strange. Like when they were doing it on Lothal, when they were kind of like moving through the planet's core and doing stuff like that and that kind of strange stuff, it's like kind of fun and like different. But it becomes strange when, like, they could have just had Hera. She was trapped in the Malachor like limbo, and then Ezra brings her out, and then you're like, okay, cool. But instead, it introduces a concept that could, I think, potentially be dangerous in the wrong writer's hands with the wrong approval.
Well, but the concept of stopping people from dying was introduced in episode 3. So how do you know that?
But it didn't work.
But
everybody
Yeah,
still
Palpatine
died.
was lying
well, no,
about
it did
that
work.
one.
It stopped. It stopped.
Plagueis.
Oh God, Anakin's Padawan.
Plagueis?
Ahsoka?
Ahsoka.
Oh.
Yeah, it stopped. Ezra stopped Ahsoka from dying.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, is like the second time she got stopped from dying.
Yeah, 'cause
But-
I think it's because somebody loves their character a little too much.
No. Just to get back to like this little bit, I like the way that I think the piece that Anakin sees and the advice that he has given in those critical moments where Yoda's like, "Yo, let it go, dog. Just train yourself to let go of all of that shit."
Street Wars.
And then he doesn't. But I think that's also representative of the limitations and the restrictions and the place that the Jedi are in at that moment. That I think that Ezra learning these things from like not only a Jedi that's not in place, like not trying to make myself sound cool, even though I'm not Kanan, but like those, like outside of those restrictions of the Jedi at their fall, I think this really makes Yoda's advice to Anakin crystal clear in that you see that that's part of the Jedi's failing. Like, and I think that adds to the overall story, not only just the story in Rebels.
So then why
But that's just
doesn't
me.
Ahsoka just go through the time thing and then stop Anakin from going to the opera?
But the way they built a time thing, it's not such a like pick and pull and pick and choose.
Dude, you would be pissed if you're on the way to the sweet space opera and all of a sudden you're in this black room.
No,
Like, hey,
I'm not
Ahsoka,
going with
she's
you.
36.
I got tickets to the opera.
Dude,
She.
he got box seats, son. Box seats.
Yeah. It's just, I think it didn't happen in Star Wars until now for a reason.
I'm about to watch Mon Cal swim.
But I think the event in itself is fine. It's like you're introducing into baseball that it can bounce once and you can catch it in one hand. And it's like, that's great on the first game. But then when you're doing it at the World Series, it's like, this is a bit too much. So it's introducing that concept, and like I get with like Empire Strikes Back, but this is a physical like
They
like
poltergeist
thing.
that shit. They like take her out of the spirit world and like drop her over here.
I
Except
still
she wasn't
see it
in the
as
spirit world. She wasn't in the spirit world.
Okay, I'm just making a joke.
No, but what I'm saying is, I think that
No,
part
no,
of-
but she was. Yeah. He brings her out
He
of.
pulled her
out
out
that
of the
moment in season
temple.
2.
Right.
Yeah, and then it's just it seems cheap. It seems like they didn't want to kill her, which was the thing that should have happened. Didn't do it. They needed to come up with an answer, and then was like, well, that makes all of that makes sense, and Ezra could talk to animals.
I think that
always
maybe,
But that's what it. That's a really like how. I mean, I like it. I'm down to go with the fantasy. I in the end, like with the ending that we got,
Dude.
I like the ending. But
Those sunglasses prove that you're happy to go with any fantasy.
yeah, I wasn't gonna wear them until you introduced me as the sunglasses guy.
if I may, I think that that what's interesting about this is that Star Wars is this huge, intricate concept. There's a lot that's gone on over the space of 40 years.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've looked at things like the Force, and we just accept the Force because the Force is just something that's told to us, and it's this, and it surrounds all living things and whatever, and we accept it.
Between the rock and the tree and all that shit.
Right. You know, oh, you can lift
Yeah.
an X-Wing. Okay. And I think that the difference is that there's a couple things that happen here with what Dave did. I think that if you really look at the basis of it, there's nothing that Dave did in Rebels that negates or in any way actually changes the nature of the Force.
No,
It
no,
ex-
I
but
no,
what
I
I'm
would
saying
agree
is
with
it
that.
expands it, but it also has its own limitations in that.
Right.
I think like how
Ezra
Ryan
was
did it.
there, and Ezra reached out to grab Ahsoka. By the same token, I think that the Emperor couldn't get in.
Right.
He needed Ezra. I think one of the reasons that we talked about this, I think, was that whole vision of Kanan was actually sent by the Emperor.
And the second vision as well,
And
I
that
think.
the Emperor was trying to get Ezra to reach through and grab Kanan. And that when he did, if he had done it, he would have pulled the Emperor through.
Right.
The Emperor wanted entry into that space.
Sure.
So I think part of it is that there are limitations within that, and that you have all these different rules that are actually in place to be able to get in there in the first place. So it's not like you can just push a button, an elevator, step into the world between worlds and be like, I want to go to this place.
Right.
It's not like you have a DeLorean and it could just punch
Right.
in a date at a
But-
random
right.
place,
But-
October 13th.
For me, it's an issue of taste. Like in Last Jedi, I think it's really a brilliant moment where Rey and Kylo have that connection, and then he looks down at his glove, and there's rain from Ahch-To on his glove. It's brilliant. It's badass. It's really a good like subtle moment. And now that you're bringing Ahsoka through portals and shit, I'm like, well, who cares?
Well, I think
Like, it
the,
becomes, like,
the
less
thing with
special.
that is like, I don't think the implications of the scene are alarming for the reason that she was just saying of like, it's not very attainable. They don't make it seem easy. It's not going to cause you to question in the future, like, why didn't they just go travel through time? Because they had the weirdness with you have to go there through a mural. You have to access it through gates. The temple's now destroyed. So I'm not worried about the implications. I thought the weird thing about the time travel and temple thing was like narratively, I mean, essentially it's like a test of Ezra's character. Like, it's a grieving episode. It's a children's show. It's a grieving episode. He has to learn the lesson that you can't bring your dead friend back because you want to. It was for the best, all that. And then the very, next episode, they have Palpatine do it again with his family. And you were like, he already passed this test. Just from a storytelling standpoint, it's like, he's like, no, I'm not going to give in to temptation. It's better that he's dead. I have to accept what is. And I destroyed the temple. And then Palpatine's like, no, I brought the temple back. And it's like, well, but we know
Right.
what choice he's going to make. We just saw him make his choice. It was so weird for the final episode to kind of squander that time on that scene.
Well, to be fair, I also
I
really
have to
like...
say that having a guest sit where Sam Witwer once sat, do an Emperor impersonation
Was
so
it good?
badly.
Well, you're reinforcing it for the kid audience, and also you get a chance to hear Ian McDermott.
And also,
It was good to have him there.
I really like that they used a piece of what, supposedly the Emperor would have heard.
Yep.
Like, when he's at that portal the first time, he just says a throwaway line that you would think, in the time of the episode, you think it's a throwaway line, but he's like, I just wish things could be simpler. I wish I could just be with my family and live it. I wish my life could have been different. And that's what he sort of uses to try to lure him the second time, even though it didn't work the first time. So I get what you're saying, but I also think that is like the ultimate level up version of him trying to use that power against him to get him to do the same thing.
But they
that he
could have
couldn't get
done
him.
one or the other.
Maybe Ezra should have said, not fool me twice,
Right?
shame on someone.
I mean,
Well,
how many
like-
times
I
do you
wish.
have to destroy
Sometimes
the
I just
same
wish I had a
temple?
DeLorean.
In for instance though, in Last Jedi, when Luke does his little appearing trick, it cost him his life. There was a consequence that came for using that. In this instance, there was nothing. It was just it just really worked out well.
I want the footage of
Except there
Darth
was-
Vader after she gets what did he do?
He fell
she
down a hole.
disappeared.
We
What did
saw
he
it.
do?
When he
What
fell
did
down
he
a
do
hole.
when Obi-Wan
And he walked
disappeared?
away
He
like
was
this.
What? Oh well.
And
Well,
Vader
I was
lands on his pants.
Vader
dude,
went
he
through
fell
the
down a
hole
hole
in the
and then he was
floor
like,
before she
Oh.
disappeared.
Sorry.
Vader went through the hole in the floor before she disappeared.
Somebody's
Apparently,
fired.
I made a really good statement. He dropped the mic.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. So there's all about perception. He didn't see her go through the portal because he was too busy falling through the floor.
What made the floor fall apart?
She struck
She
the
did.
floor.
Because she hit it with both sabers.
Right.
And destabilized the floor.
Yeah, I don't know. I want a Jedi temple that's a bit more stable than.
Yeah, well,
just
you know
two
what?
big
Solid
sides.
It's a
rock.
Sith temple,
Yeah.
dude. They don't use a lot of time, dude.
That
They're
shit was
impatient.
already under stress. You know, if you remember the episode, things were starting to fall apart by that point. anyway.
Malachor is kind of the IKEA of like Jedi.
That's right. And plus, you know, Malachor, nobody'd been there to like do uptake on the thing. Things were falling through the ceiling
It
already.
came with a hex key, but I didn't
No
use it.
caretakers.
It is so weird the thoughts that you have watching these shows because so you're in this weird realm where Ezra's getting shown his family, and the whole time I couldn't stop thinking, it's like, why is there a button? Why is there a mystic button?
Because
just walk. Like, why do you have to open a button?
because it
But-
makes him make a choice.
Yeah, I know, but it's
See-
just so weird that like
It should
the
be a
mystic
crossing
realm,
the threshold, not a.
like in the mystic realm, they installed buttons.
Would
one
he have
week.
to then wait for the elevator to arrive after making his choice?
I mean,
think,
what you know about the Force, dog?
One of the things you mentioned, though, is you don't know why they use that. And to me, it seemed like, you know, the Emperor has a goal. I mean, he didn't just try once with Luke. He didn't just try once with Anakin. He's somebody who looks for ways to get what he wants. So the first time through, it didn't work. But now he has something he thinks is actual leverage. And I think that you can put temptation in front of Ezra, save your master. That's one thing that maybe he can turn down. But for someone to hand him his family and say, you can have your family and your whole life without any of the things that happened here, you can go back and just be with your family and be a kid again.
But didn't it feel a
Like,
little bit like
I-
a weaker temptation the second time? Because the first time it's the Force, like he's in a neutral space, he realizes this is a thing he could do. The second time, it's Palpatine. Like, you know you can't trust Palpatine.
Except
he killed his
doesn't
family.
really know that.
Right,
he
right.
doesn't
Not
know
only that.
Palpatine like...
But he is the enemy he's against. He's in charge of the entire thing he's fighting.
But Ezra doesn't know him. He doesn't know that version of him. Palpatine shows up as this kindly old man, his stately self.
Yeah.
He's projecting this image. I'm here to help you.
I thought
want
that
you
was
to-
odd,
I
though,
want to
that
take
he was
care
selling
of
it
you.
that way.
But see,
So did Ezra, though.
to a kid.
Yeah, Ezra did. No, to Ezra when he was like being like, "Oh, I'm really nice now. I brought the temple back. Go on." And he was pushing a little too much.
That's where I think he failed. If he had just shut up?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think Ezra would have
Yeah.
gone through. Was that last
because
line?
he kept being like, "Yeah, do that."
And I thought to
Yeah.
myself, I said, well, this is why the Emperor not only fails with him, but with Luke. He doesn't know when to shut up.
"No."
Like, you sold the
Evil.
car before, dude. Cut the last line.
But it's like when you've got like a prank set up in your house, like you open the door and something will fall down, and the person won't go through there. And it's like, you
That's
really
it.
should go into the kitchen for some reason, please.
They're already on the threshold, and you're like, "That's
If you
right.
guys just-
Open the door more."
You know
widely."
you want to go in the kitchen.
And this is the other thing
I
I was
YouTube
wondering,
Russia a lot.
is like these parents that the Emperor conjured up, are they now doomed just to call to their son to come have dinner for
No,
the
they
rest
were
of
cool
the
I don't
with
think
time?
they were real at
They were
all.
cool with it.
Ezra, it's getting cold.
They
Ezra.
weren't
His parents
real
were
at all.
horrible. His parents were horrible, and that's Star Wars hell.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
They weren't real. I don't
I
think
think they were
real
real,
at all.
yeah, because Palpatine needed in
I
the
agree.
real space, so they had to be real.
And this is the other thing I was thinking. If there's Coruscant Tinder, like there is no way that Sheev isn't rocking that hologram
You
version.
know he is.
And then when you rock up for the date, it's like this
And then the
wrinkly
girl
old
shows
dude.
up. She's like, the hell?
I would like Korean barbecue.
Or he's got group photos with like Emperor's Royal Guard and Darth Vader and Tarkin. It's like, which one is it? I don't
You
know.
know, and
Do you think any of
Also,
those is a safe
word.
bet for your date?
I'm
Looking at
still
Tarkin
know
like,
why-
that one.
To this day, I'm still confused why people are confused about the whole connection between Rey and Kylo, because to me that made sense from go, because I knew they were being manipulated. But the physics of it, there's whatever that connection is the same. It's the same kind of thing within this portal, but it's a different use of the same technology. So I think that when we talk about that space, I think that space is different.
I think from a storytelling perspective, though, it's a different use of taste as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the
I think it looks different to anybody
yeah.
else that's using it also.
But it's also a thing that's been used repeatedly in the like if you start reading the books and start reading the comics, like there's a lot of talking about how the Emperor, everybody sees the Emperor and they're like, oh, that's what he looks like? I was watching this movie feed and he looked like a
Yeah.
kindly old gentleman.
Right.
You know.
Well, like,
remember,
yeah.
I mean, Palpatine looked like a nice, chill dude in Revenge of the Sith. You know, we didn't.
Whoa.
It's weird to see him. Like for me, I remember being like, "That's him," because I remember the dude in the hood.
Do you think the Coruscant Who magazine or People magazine has like galactic rulers
Yes.
without makeup?
Saw Palpatine going to the grocery store with sunglasses and a jacket.
Sith Lords, they're just like us. Geek Girl Diva, what was out of the last half of the season 4? What was your highlight? When were you foaming at the nerd mouth the most?
Kindred.
Oh,
The
you
episode
would.
Kindred. Yeah. And also though, I thought that Rebel Assault, the last episode before the break, I thought that episode was amazing.
Which one was that?
Rebel Assault, where the one where she actually does the assault on the Empire and ends up crash landing and getting
objects are falling from
captured.
the sky.
And I thought that I'm sorry, but seeing Hera with commanding a squadron of X-wings, I just
In that
lost
costume?
my mind.
Oh, well, that's the thing. Like, you know, people obviously really love this show, but at the same time, it does have this huge advantage that every time like X-wings or A-wings would fly past, I'm like, this is the best episode ever, you guys. This is amazing. I mean, there's an X-wing and it's animated.
Seeing her in the cockpit and seeing her leading the mission and having like a whole group of people and then having to watch all of that fall from the sky. Like, to me, I think that Rebels really excelled at actually showing you the cost of certain things.
Yeah.
We've seen pilots die. We've seen ships go down. But
Dicer.
I think that there are deaths in Rebels that happen in the battles that I think get seen from a different perspective that actually have more impact. And just watching all the Rebels standing there, watching Hera's whole command go down and just being like, I mean, imagine you just standing there and being like, holy shit, you know, that's your family. And so I thought that was really impactful.
I want to make a point to your comment on every time you see an A-wing or an X-wing that, oh, this is the best episode ever. And that's because it speaks to what all the fans want. And if you just do what the fans want, you don't get Ezra, you don't get Kanan, you don't get Hera, you don't get this entire story, because this is nothing that the fans ever imagined. The fans are clamoring for young Obi-Wan movie, you know, or a young Yoda or a Boba Fett movie. And
What's
you
wrong
know,
with that?
If
Somewhere Axel
if
is looking at me mad.
If the people in charge, you know, just listen to only what the fans say, instead of trying to push the property forward and come up with new adventures and new characters and new people, then you're stagnant, and all of a sudden that A-wing that you get a glimpse of because you haven't seen it in a while becomes, oh, when are they going to do another story?
Yeah. I would like, just for an experiment, for them to make a Star Wars movie purely based on fan feedback. And it's just
That's
like
Rogue One. They already did it.
Jason, what was your highlight of the second half of the fourth?
No, my favorite moment is that very last shot from the final, not the last shot, but one of the final shots where you see the ghost flying over all of the people of Lothal from like that kind of up top maze view kind of shot. Because in that moment, like honestly, I love Clone Wars to death. There's actually like almost not an episode of the show I don't.
You were the
like.
one that canceled it?
No, but Rebels, there were times when I thought like, do I need this? What did this need to happen? That's how I felt often. And
I talked him through it.
Okay, yeah, you got it. But the thing about it is, in that last shot, it makes it all worth it. In that last shot, when there is something that you say, did that action matter? You can say yes because it leads to that moment. So for me, it was I feel like 3/4 of Rebels was really great, and 1/4 of it was just kind of aimless and lacking for me. And I think that last shot, though, makes it where I can go, okay, like, it works. It's fine.
Yeah, there was, like, the final 3 episodes, there was just some, like, movie-esque, beautiful, beautiful shots.
The
like,
animation was incredible.
Yeah, like, on paper, I shouldn't enjoy the space whale bit. But I thought it was, like, so well done, and the visual of it was just, like, so compelling and so new that I was like, oh yeah, this is pretty dope.
Yeah, because like I have no sympathy for Star Wars as an intellectual property that their shows are expensive. Like it's not the same as like a normal cartoon, and like so, in those last episodes though, you could tell that it was expensive, and you could tell that like it was worth it.
Explain the no sympathy thing.
Well, like for instance, what's a PJ Masks or something. They might make that show, and they might not make $1 off of it. It might just be a huge like loss. When it's Star Wars, you know it's going to somehow, over time, make its money back. Over time, it's going to be worth it. And we knew going into Star Wars Rebels that the show had a huge amount of interest. Before they ever showed it, the amount of media coverage that was coming in, like they knew that they were going to be able to like make something that could work. Like it wasn't a high-risk property at that moment. And it wasn't the same as even Clone Wars, which was much more expensive. And so on that show, on Rebels, though, they go and then they cut the budget drastically, and maybe for good business reason. I don't pretend to know that stuff. But on those last episodes, it really showed off, and it really mattered. There were several characters in frame at one time, stuff like that. And this show and these Star Wars shows are going to potentially be moneymakers forever after they come out. Like PJ Masks is going to come out, and then the kids are going to turn 4, and it's done. Bye. Forgot about you forever.
God, you're really railing on this PJ cartoon.
Well, it's what my kids watch. But with Star Wars, I mean, like honestly, if Ewoks came out today, I'm going to buy the freaking Blu-ray. If it came out today, I would buy it. I would hate it probably for not holding up and not being the show I remember when I was 5, but I would still buy it, so it's going to make its money back. And it's like penny pinching for today, not considering that tomorrow is going to continue to reap the benefits. Now, maybe it's going to change a little bit with endless just Star Wars coming forever. Maybe stuff like that will be a little bit lessened, but even in that lessened way, they're sitting high on the hog, sitting pretty. I don't really...
As long as that Ewoks Blu-ray has got the theme song that's like Ewoks, then
yeah, on the forest moon.
And when I used to watch that,
nobody in this theater.
I used to watch that in the 80s, and I could never understand why the main characters aren't in it. Like why Luke Skywalker? Like why wouldn't? Don't they know?
Called Ewoks.
Yeah, but I was like, but don't they know that we want to see Luke Skywalker? And I'd watch it every episode, and it would be like, we're gonna go pick berries this time, and I'm like, they've got to see a biker scout when they pick berries. This is the episode every morning. They never did.
Did you have droids?
There's Star Wars in a nutshell
we watched
for you.
droids.
They had two main
Eat
characters.
Chihuahua Utah.
Yeah.
Star Wars is built to make you want more. Whatever it is, you want more. See? So there you are watching Ewoks, and you're like, where's a scout trooper? Then they make the sequel.
But the ironic thing is, where's the scout trooper? He's in this eternal plane with his helmet off, watching his friends. That was like the one thing. They had such a poignant thing that he's in this zone. I kind of thought they should have got him into other Like it's so weird when you like, this is such a groundbreaking scene in Star Wars, and then when you see like the frame grabs of it, it's just like a biker scout.
It's a biker scout with no helmet.
It's just dress for the occasion, guys.
But at the same time, isn't that as a kid what you did? I mean, that's what I did. When I was a kid, that biker scout had the lightsaber, man, because he was like the coolest toy that they made.
Dude, I would not have played with you.
I was Luke, dude. I had a poncho, son. What?
You're playing Star Wars like you're writing Marvel comics.
Like I'm writing Rebels.
Sal, what was your highlight in the last half of the fourth season?
I think I'm going to have to say, like, I've thought about this a lot, and the part that I keep going back to in the finale is the Ezra and Sabine scene. Yes. It's a goodbye. Like, whatever you call it, it's a goodbye. Like, Ezra says to Hera, if this isn't the way, then find me the way. Then he turns, and he knows what he has to do. And he looks up, and he tries to find his way out, and he looks at Chopper. And Chopper gives him a nod. Yep. And the music is phenomenal. And then the little hatch drops. And he does the one last time. Yeah. And then he looks at Sabine. I know. I'm thinking I can do it right now. This is stupid.
I see it.
You see it. And then he looks at Sabine, and they say goodbye. There are no words in this is like a good minute and a half. There are no words. and Sabine turns and she's like, Hera, over here. Let's
Can I
figure
just-
out how to distract blah,
I want
blah.
to point something out. No, they didn't do that. They screwed with you even more because she's like, Hera. And there's a pause.
Yeah.
And you're like, she's not going to rat him out, is she? And then she's like, over here, and does the distraction.
But then they go back to Sabine. The music is still hitting on all cylinders. And she's looking for him. And she's looking. And Callus moves slowly out of frame. And he's already gone. Every time I watch that shit, it breaks my heart. That, to me, that is equal to the moment in Clone Wars where Ahsoka and Anakin say their goodbyes. That is Ezra and Sabine saying their goodbyes. If you don't connect to the characters, that's whatever. But that's that moment in Rebels.
I just want to remind
Dude, you retelling that moment is my favorite part of Rebels. That was amazing. I was tearing up. I was like, if he clenches his fist any harder, blood's going to get cut off.
That's what it's like to be me.
Well, what are you gonna do when Sabine gets out there to the Beyond and finds Ezra and they hook up?
That would be disheartening.
It's gonna happen.
And they hook up.
It's gonna happen. Watch.
Shut up.
It's gonna happen.
By that point, Sabine.
He doesn't know it yet.
That's a Lizzie question.
He knows after they get married.
You
Kevin,
know what? I'm gonna.
what was
don't
your
even-
highlight of the second part of season 4?
Well, I mean, my favorite part was the coda at the very end. I just like the wrap up of everything, and I particularly what happened with Zed and Callus, and I think that story arc of those two characters was just a really nice journey and a wrap up. So that of the second half of the whole show is when Hera switched her headphones for Beats by Dre.
Yeah, baby.
So that was.
Well, good Apple tie-in always helps. I love that the Zeb and Callus thing as well, because the episode they had together, like the Enemy Mine episode, where they sort of weren't respect
The honorable ones.
Yeah, like that was
Excellent.
just such like a great episode, and then to have that come back. I did think it was a little bit weird. It's like, hey, you killed most of us, but not all of us, so join the tribe. You left
Totally space married, by the way.
yeah. There's some interspecies homoeroticism.
They look so happy together. It
was like
warms
my
heart.
fanfic, made as an episode.
It was so
amazing.
great. It was this little this is my man.
Like, oh, we're trapped in the snow. How are we gonna keep warm?
Yeah. Oh well.
Did anyone else start kind of eyeballing him as a replacement man for Hera a little bit? Like Kanan wasn't even cold in the ground, and I was like, he has nice bone structure.
I didn't, but I will say that I bless the soul of whichever animator decided that lock of hair was going to fall right onto his forehead.
Well, I
at
am
that
going
point.
to write some Zeb and Callus erotic fan fiction.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and it's gonna
Get in line.
and it's gonna include the line, "You almost committed genocide on my heart."
Great.
I'd read that.
I think it's gonna be pretty good.
What about the I think I recruited him accidentally. That's pretty good.
That won't be in there.
He'll follow me anywhere.
I liked when Kanan saved Hera. I like it, it's sort of a bit of a trope of the drugged out person saying, "You guys are all in a lot of trouble." Maybe it's from True Lies or something. And
Oh yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I like that. Oh, he's going to come from there, and I just liked he got to Jedi it up.
Yep.
They were they had the music and all that sort of stuff, and it was just a nice Jedi coming to rescue everyone. Sal, I do have to ask. It is a critique.
hair.
Could you have imagined that when Kanan was blinded, it would affect him so little? Because this dude's jumping from speeders to spaceships.
No, you're right. And he's using
Catching baseballs. He's playing darts.
There was a part in the beginning of season 4 where I was like, he's not even using his gun anymore. Why is he even wearing his gun? And then he gets on the ghost turrets. But to be fair, I really dig the growth that they give him at that moment to be yo, I need to rise above. And I need to get beyond this physical
You
bullshit.
need to write the script.
Yeah, he does.
If
No,
Kagan
that's
was
what I got
throwing
him
in
for. That's
yos,
what I got
Well,
Kevin
you know,
for.
all Padawans-
Kevin writes the scripts. I'll just be in the back going, yeah.
Maybe add a yo.
All Padawans start with, the
Blindfolded.
blindfolded, of defending laser bolts. So that's not unheard of. What bothered me,
But in saying that,
Yeah.
if that's the case of like they learn how to be blind, why make him blind? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I thought it was meant to be
I
to
still
challenge
think
him.
it taught him something in the journey, even though at the end he's still able to walk around and be like, yo, I'm a Jedi, dude. I don't care. I'll still shoot you. What?
one nitpick, and I'd even discussed this with a couple of the production staff, and they didn't have an answer for it. I probably answered my own question, but the animators still animated Kanan as though he was seeing, and what I mean is that his eyes tracked.
Right,
Yep.
right.
And so that bothered me a bit.
But that's
Just
true
as-
of
just
people
as-
that lose their vision, right?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
instinctively they still do it.
And because in some sense, well, when you've lost your vision, if you've not been blind since birth, if you've lost your vision, your eyes will still track. And then also, I thought just from a standpoint of just how it looks, if you didn't have that, the character's face would be dead. So that was like my one gripe of the series. Was it says his eyes are tracking and he's blind.
Let me ask you this, Sal. Did Kanan's blindness affect him or you having to wear that mask more?
I
Who bumped into more things?
I had a lot harder time making my way through Celebration with that mask. So, but like, it's funny you bring that up because when I made that thing, I was like, I want to be the one guy that has the mask that can do stuff. Like, I have the mask.
Why aren't you clean shaven with a crew cut?
Dude, like, would you calm down for a minute? I'm playing a weird part in a book where I think I can still be fully scruffy like a season 4 Kanan, but I can still be a New Dawn jacket so I don't get in trouble with Saber Guild. Like, in season 4.
Just so
he's
you know,
walk-
Kevin, he was petrified when he saw that. His first thought was, "Oh my God! Don't tell me I have to cut my hair and
You guys
shave."
didn't see me at the. Oh, well, yeah,
Oh,
first of all that.
shit.
First of all that. But also, second of all, at the end of season 2 screening, you were there. Yeah, that was tough days. But like I forgot what the question was now. Whatever.
Blind Kanan. You know, if I could, as far as Blind Kanan, one of the only things that really it bugged me in the sense that part of me was like, man, he can see everything. And then I was like, and it bugged me for about 30 seconds. And then I was like, he can see everything. Is the Force. Okay. Like, I guess that's part of it is.
Yeah. I always thought that if
the
someone...
For me, the journey was his confidence in himself. That when he lost his vision, he lost his confidence. He lost his way, and he had to find that again. The way he can see things, or the way he's able to shoot stuff, and then every once in a while they drop in something that was so great, like the fact, like in I forget what the episode name is, but Sabine's flying around with all these troopers shooting the crap out of everything, and like Ezra and Zeb are like, whoa, and Kanan's like, what's she doing? Because he can't see. And it's bugging him, like he wants to see what she's doing. So every once in a while they throw something like that in. But I think some of it just has to come down to suspension of disbelief. And I think that's one of the things that Star Wars really, every once in a while it challenges it, and then I think you just kind of have to go, okay.
Yeah, I think like what you're saying with the growth and stuff, they tried to do that, but maybe like lost their way. Like and it. Like,
I think
because
there's only so much time.
Yeah, but
I think at some point you just got to be
4 seasons.
like,
But
no, but
I
understand.
think this is my thing. If someone would come in and watch an episode in season 3 and they weren't aware of what had happened, they wouldn't know he was blind. They just think, hey, that dude's got a sweet mask.
But he walks like this.
He does. It takes a while. You see
Yeah.
some of it, and he gains some of his stuff and how he interacts with the Force and what he knows. But
How I would walk.
yeah,
All right, let's go into the coda, which I was very surprised to have this, flash forward, and it was kind of exciting to find out she was talking from post Return of the Jedi. one thing that you pointed out on Twitter, Kevin, was it seemed familiar to me, but it didn't hit me. But the shot of Sabine on the broadcast tower and the ships going over, whereas in Rebels it was a Star Destroyer at the start on episode 1.
Yeah.
That's a different episode 1, you guys. But the final shot, like, of her and the X-Wings go across, which is a lovely little bit of ring theory.
Yeah.
We all had our ring on for that one.
Yeah.
But I thought that was really cool, the twist around in that. But let's analyse some of the things they went into. Zeb and Callus, how did you feel about that wrapping up Shayna?
I thought it was great. I thought that I think that Callus is somebody that by the end of the series deserved to have that knowledge. And I think it shows the power of the Lasat people, that he may have been part of what, decimated the Lasat people, but that in the end, that they're able to accept him, and also that he's able to accept himself. I thought one of the best lines in the whole thing was when he said to Price, "The day I stopped betraying myself was the day I started, the day I stopped following the Empire is the day I stopped betraying myself." And I think that there's a lot to be said about that. And so for me, Zeb and Callus, but Zeb showing Callus Lyrasan, and then the Lasat accepting him as family, I think is just huge. And I think that it's nice because we don't actually get to see a lot of Imperials be redeemed. Like, we don't see that. And I think it's really interesting, and I think it speaks to the fact that one of the reasons I think Lost Stars, the novel, did so well is because it shows Imperials as people that really, especially if you look at the world right now, there are people who live in certain headspaces and believe certain things because of the information that they're given. And that information may be true or false, but they believe it. So really, Callus is just part of the Empire because he grew up into the propaganda that's been out there, and he believes he's doing the right thing. It's not until he's told or really experiences something that maybe he's not doing the right thing, and then he makes a choice. So I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think Lost Stars would have done better if they called it They Have Sex.
Don't go cheapening Lost Stars. Lost Stars is such
I was
a
reading
good
those
love
pages and I was
story.
like, oh my God, this
well,
is
then maybe
crazy.
you need to spend some time on AO3 because all you need to do is spend some time there. You get the sex out of the way, and then you can just enjoy the story in Lost Stars. Because I'm going to tell you right now, there's some really good stuff on Archive
You
of
need
Our
a
Own.
reread.
Jason, one of the things in the coda that I was like, why did you have to mention that? Why was Rex in Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, I like to think that it was a little bit open though. Like it says that it is served with Hera.
Yeah,
Hera's. I assume Hera's not on the planet because we didn't see some green lady walking around on Endor. So I like to pretend in my head that he's up there flying around with her as her gunner, not
in the turret.
becoming an old white British man all of a sudden.
So he's up there in the Ghost.
Yeah.
With like quite brown skin.
He's
Yes.
with the B-Wings.
Okay.
He's
We
like,
also
I
never
look like
seen-
Tamara Morrison.
And so no one's like asking him for presents or anything like that?
Nope.
Okay, good.
Nope.
I want to address something just because this really bugs me. There's a lot of people who are upset that the possibility that man that we've talked about in that picture could be Rex because in some way it's whitewashing Rex. Except for the fact that in my mind, that film happened 40 years ago and the events of Rebels happens before that movie. So in essence, whatever image we have of Rex from Attack of the Clones and Rebels supersedes whoever that dude was in Return of the Jedi.
But now we got like little guys playing harmonicas in Jabba's palace. Spend the 10 grand, put Tamara Morrison in the shot. We're good.
Yeah, but dude,
No, it doesn't have to be that cheap. If you're gonna do it, if you're gonna invest in it, then invest in it.
we accept that there's this concept of an all-powerful force, and we can't just turn our heads around a little bit and be like, yeah, the dude in that movie that was made I don't know how long ago, That's Tamora Morrison.
I think it's insulting to the Maori people that were really happy that they're in a Star Wars movie and that it's really like a big deal that it's so many of them got into a really big role, and then when you go in and at the end of it you take it away. Because I mean, like, even Rex is really, really white in that series compared to like Tamora Morrison, I think.
No, but I'm saying that I do think that there is something to be said for. Personally, I'd be like, good. Y'all fix that shit.
I just don't have sympathy for Disney. They got the money, man.
Then they'll make another release, and then they'll make a ton of money off that. They'll be like the Rex special edition.
And that's what I say. No, that's what I say. Like, if that's what it's gonna be, then change the shot.
But in the end,
but don't not change the shot and like Star Wars customizable card game it by just saying no, that's
except
Rex.
for the fact that I think what's cool about it is that in the beginning what we have now is we have more diversity now than we had at the time.
Sure.
Which means I would much rather have the diversity and just have to shift my brain about that one dude at the end of Return of the Jedi than someone go and address that and somehow me have to say, well, that supersedes this. Mm-hmm. This supersedes that. And I think that's cool.
It's just one of those things that doesn't need to happen that way, though, if they want it to happen.
By the way, this is what Star Wars nerds argue about.
And I think they left it open.
So like we just get into that for a second. This is the minutia that we get into. Like,
do you think? No, but like, to be honest, do you think it's minutia that you like go? You've got a Maori character, and then it's like it's fine. It's a white dude. Like,
no.
Can like a white skinned girl play Hera? And it's like. It's just suspension of disbelief.
Except
Can Seth Cohen play Lando Calrissian?
I look at what I have to look at is the progress. Okay, the way a movie was made at whatever time it was made, we've moved forward in that time. So in the end, look, you can look at movies from the 70s and you're like, well, this is sexism and this is racism and this is this and this is that. This is all of this is all kinds of stuff.
But aren't you saying the opposite?
No,
because like now in 2018, like they're saying his heritage doesn't really matter.
That's not true. They're saying his heritage absolutely matters. They established his heritage. Okay, so there was this guy in a movie, right? We didn't have a name for him as Nik Sant or whoever he was. Some dude there in the scene, right?
Nik Sant.
Then they created Attack of the Clones. And we got Tamora Morrison, and then we got the Rex clones and the Clone Wars. So it was established as canon at that point. But also, the character maintains the same heritage here. So what it's doing is, it's revising history. It's progressive now. All you're really doing is you're saying to yourself, so this thing I thought was that, I'm just going to shift that. Otherwise, you're basically having to. But like, that's
I don't
how
want to get
you
too bogged down.
change.
To me, it just means for the little nerd links.
Yeah.
We're like, for the sake of that, we're willing to ignore this person.
What I'm saying is that if you accept it, if you look at it for the progress it is, and you accept it, then all you have to do is change one moment, as opposed to invalidating everything else along the way.
How does like him not being in Return of the Jedi invalidate the character's story? But that's what you just said. So
no,
I'm just trying
saying
to work
that him, if he is in Return of the Jedi, that who he is in Return of the Jedi is changed by everything that's come after. So the only thing you have to shift in your mind is who he was in Return of the Jedi. Everything else remains the same.
But how can we get mad and disappointed about like the hiring of only white male directors, and then say that like it's okay that they've essentially recast Rex as a white man?
Because the world has changed dramatically.
But no, because like all Disney would have to do though is spend the $20,000 or whatever it would cost to use the CGI model of the clone that they have to make it the old guy with the beard. And it wouldn't be like, but if they don't do it, and then they go and do it, then that's essentially what it is. See, I think it's that, I actually want that to be Rex. I'm cool with it. I actually like if they make that Rex, I like that. I like Rex being there on Endor with the guys. I like it, but I don't like basically them retro casting a white dude as Tamora Morrison. Like it just seems like if it's that important, then spend the money. If it's not, then just don't do it. Just put him on the Ghost.
I feel like it goes backwards. I feel like I don't feel like that Tamura Morrison became a white dude.
Right.
I feel like that white dude became Tamura Morrison.
Exactly.
Like I feel like there's 2, maybe 3 shots in which he's in Return of the Jedi. Now, if he's that dude, and you go back and you apply all this counterproductive where he has lines. He has, in episode 2, he has lines. In episode 3, he has lines. And if you go back into the Clone Wars, then there's like all this, this backstory that you apply to this character. I feel like applying that to this person is a much smaller change than trying to, like, I don't disagree with you in saying that, like, yeah, dude, spend the 20,000 and CG that fool's face on this guy's face. I get that, but also I'm sure there are legal things like, hey, George Lucas sold us Star Wars, and now we can't change Star Wars.
Are we talking Boba Fett and Return of the Jedi?
That
Sorry?
changed.
Are we
That
talking
voice
about
changed.
Boba
No, we're
Fett and
talking
Return of the
Commander
Jedi?
Rex.
There's a guy that I guess people have pointed to and said that's Captain Rex, but
Yeah.
it's like a white guy.
Oh.
And it's like, that's not Captain Rex, because he's not a white guy.
He's Jango Fett.
Just from where I sit, it's like it's such like people say, just ignore it. It's such a little thing. So I go, well, if it's such a little thing, don't do it because it's on the fence of.
I don't think that that's even been, but 100%, I don't think that's actually ever been established. It's been a conversation. It's been a throw-off comment.
What do you mean?
What if that? Because Filoni.
What do you mean it's not established?
Filoni didn't establish it.
Oh, okay.
He said Rex was there. He didn't say where.
Yeah.
And there's fans who have said,
let's
"What
be,
if it's him?"
Let's like be serious. They've got the character model. It looks it's the same. Like it's all the pieces are
It's
there,
close.
and he's like doing Ahsoka lives. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. It's up to you.
Right.
Like they've done everything except say it's definitely him.
It's a
have-
very aggressive suggestion.
Yeah.
And I have the thing I have a hard time with is that I have a hard time with the idea that because that thing happened at that point, before there were these conversations really about diversity and about bringing these kinds, different races and people into this thing, and because we had this character who is Maori and we created him and brought him forward, I have a hard time with the idea that that somehow invalidates, that a white guy in that movie at that time invalidates all the work and the progress that has happened. Because I don't think it erases it.
No, I don't think it does. But what it does say is like our nerdery is more important than the Maori heritage. For this little thing to go, oh, it's cool, he's in that. That's all it is. That like we are saying, I would rather have that than like recognize that like Daniel Logan and Tamira Morrison are Maoris, and I know like because Australia is next to New Zealand where they come from, they were psyched. And I when it sort of started coming up last year, they did the thing of celebration. I'm like, maybe I'm crazy, and so I Facebooked some of my Maori friends in Melbourne and said, hey, how do you feel about this? And they're just like, oh man, that sucks. We were so proud of Tamira that he was in Star Wars. It was insane. So I kind of think for such a trivial like nerd thrill, I don't think it's worth the like just saying, well, he had a beard, completely different color, because you can like adapt that and then say, okay, well, that guy, that's Sabine, but that's a guy. It doesn't matter. It's just a quick shot.
Yeah,
like,
it's better even to say he was there, but we didn't see him. But
Right.
he was there.
And here's where
than
I think
to go,
that,
there
like,
he is. That's
that-
him, right?
That looseness,
Looks like
I think,
him.
applies
Like-
here.
no, that was low grade.
Like, I agree with what you're saying, but I also say, like, that the fact that they didn't say, like, you're right, they've done everything but say, that's him.
But they haven't said that exactly.
They haven't said
So we
that
have
that's him.
wiggle room.
Yeah, but
But
that is even worse, because that is we didn't say it was, but we gave you all the ingredients. They are saying that if you want to believe that, all the parts are there.
The
And
fact
I don't know how you can
that
argue
they can
that.
take that Maori character and involve him from the galactic, from the separatist, from the Clone Wars all the way up to the Civil War, I think is a good thing.
Yep.
But then I think you run into this weird reality where George Lucas sold Star Wars and there are strange rules on a contract like you can't change shit.
No,
like,
I think they can do whatever
because
they feel like.
if
And
they
they
go
own it
back
now.
and say let's fucking replace Rex's face with Tamara Morrison. Does that open up the days to all those like people on Twitter that are like, fuck the prequels, 1, 2, and 3 are redone?
Yep.
Like, where does that, like, and I'm not saying that it's right or that it's wrong. I'm saying that I don't know if Nik
what do you think
Sant
they would
is
do to the
supposed to be him
prequels?
or not, but I think involving Rex into the Battle of Endor is a good thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think George Lucas would even do. I'm guessing, but I would guess that he would be like, "Yeah, cool, do it. I like to change my movies,
Right.
based on
Right.
characters I created."
And we don't know that at some point they won't.
Are we really
Yeah.
devoting 30 minutes to a character who flashed on a screen for...
Oh, this has been a 6-month-long discussion.
Well,
All right.
but Ahsoka, they didn't say, hey, that tree's Ahsoka.
Right.
They just made another scene, and she's in it past Return of the Jedi. See? Ta-da! It's done. What did you think, Sal, about Ahsoka coming back?
I like the idea that there is a future in some of these characters. That's the end of my sentence.
Agreed.
All right, you guys, as we wrap up and get to drinking,
Yay!
obviously the book is open for more animation, and we don't really know. It could be Jason Solo, it could be Ahsoka and Sabine.
Jason Syndulla.
Geek Diva, where would you like the next animation to start off at?
I want it to be somewhere I don't expect at all. Honestly.
You want to be what, sorry?
I want it to be somewhere I don't expect at all. Like, I don't even want to speculate on it because I want it to be something I didn't think of, just like Rebels was something I never would have thought of.
Nice. Jason?
I would just obviously like to see it go into the sequel trilogy era where they're currently telling stories so that the stories in the animation sort of supports and lines up with the films that I'm watching.
Sal?
Star Wars Legacy, Cade Skywalker, way after all this bullshit.
Way.
Kevin?
I'd like to be surprised. I have no, great desire to see anything in particular, except for Tag and Bang.
Yeah.
Now, Jenny, apart from My Little Pony Meets the Giant Spiders, where would you like the animation to go?
I would love the next animated series to be called Jedi School Kids, and it's set at a Jedi school on some like lush, beautiful planet, like an old school Jedi school, not like a Coruscant, like rec room Jedi school.
Dig it.
I pitched that to
And
Disney.
then there you go, and it's a revolving door cast of like 30 kids. It's like a Hey Arnold, but they're at Jedi school. Little misadventures, different characters every time, and giant spiders in the
Will there be
jungle.
music? Will there be music? I wonder if they're singing. Thank you.
There's a song every episode. Sometimes the spiders are singing it.
Green light this immediately.
Call
Wow.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Well, thank our panel, everyone!
Lisa, have a grand army.
Geek Diva, where can the good people of the internet track you down?
You can find me pretty much everywhere as Geek Girl Diva. And please, if I said anything you find offensive or in any way uncomfortable, it is never my intention to upset anyone or offend anyone. So please don't come yell at me. I didn't mean it.
It was a good discussion.
I'm just saying, whatever it is, in the end, I love Star Wars. Don't come yell at me. Thank you.
Or better yet, if they're on the internet, wait till they see you.
Oh, don't do that either.
No, because they won't.
Come up to me and offer to buy me a drink. That's great.
They're just space movies, and we're just talking about them, you know? Yeah. Jason.
SpaceSpiders.com.
Oh, that's your website?
SpaceSpiders.com?
I thought it was spacespider.net.
Yeah, Mark Hamill called it .com, so we changed it.
Mr. Perales.
You can find me at Sal I Make Music on Twitter and Instagram. You can find my whole family at theroguerebels.com. You can hear me and Jason and Randy Lagudice along with Corey Stories at Now This Is Podcasting. Some people are laughing. They must know what Corey Stories are.
Kevin, where can the good people of the internet find you?
You can find me at Simsey's Bar on Fridays at happy hour in Burbank.
Simsies!
Other than that, you can find me all social media is the Kevin Rubio. So Twitter, Instagram, Tinder.
Dude, these plugs are getting pretty hot.
Also, I want to mention that Marvel Comics ahead of Solo is re-releasing Tag and Bink, the graphic novel, in print. They are doing this to test the audience to see if they want more Tag and Bink.
And Tag and Bink is really, really good. If you guys haven't read it, you should definitely read it.
Funny stuff.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations. And of course, Tag and Bink are in Han Solo.
Yeah, Tag and Bink are in Han Solo. So.
Jennifer, where can the good people of the internet find you?
I'm on Twitter as Jenny Nicholson, and I'm on YouTube as Jenny Nicholson.
Nice. Good branding.
Yeah, thanks.
Guys, thank you so much. Thanks. Give you a round of applause for everyone at the Scum and Villainy Cantina, JC and the crew. Stick around, have a drink, grab a t-shirt, and we'll be back here for a solo breakdown on May 26th. So we'll see you there. Tickets are on sale. May that force be with you!
Da